Dear fellow world citizens and dear heads of state of the world, the Coalition for a Baruch Plan for AI is a non-profit organization based in Geneva and across the world, which is aggregating experts and NGOs to promote a very strong global intergovernmental organization that is able to truly tackle the risks of artificial intelligence and realize its benefits. There are many organizations pursuing a similar goal. There are two intuitions that sets us apart. The main one is that we're taking the statements by the top independent AI scientists and surveys of scientists very seriously. These statements are calling for immense risks and urgent risks of artificial intelligence for the safety of human beings. In particular, they're looking at the risks of accidents, misuse, and even loss of control leading to human extinction. And the timelines are even very, very short in time. The other risk is the immense concentration of power and wealth, which is happening before our eyes, and it's ongoing. We believe that what is needed is an organization which is of the scope which is similar to the one that was proposed in 1946 by the United States to the United Nations for the international control of nuclear weapons. An organization with the power to have exclusive control on all dangerous research facilities, supply chain, source materials. Even though this proposal failed to translate in a treaty, it was countered by a similar proposal by Russia and stands as a historical example of the scope of global organization that can be very actively and pursued when immense risks arise. So we believe we are at a similar moment as the beginning of 1946, and we must move faster and better to make sure we have a treaty on this technology, avoiding the failures of the Baruch Plan. The second thing that sets us apart is that while there are several initiatives around the world by NGOs, by states, by intergovernmental organizations to create some kind of governance of AI, some kind of treaty among nations, and all of these initiatives are severely lacking in inclusivity, in the scope of what they're pursuing, in the timeliness on how they're approaching, and most importantly, they're lacking in method. We can't rely on treaty making as usual. The process of treaty making that has been mostly adopted over the last few decades for climate change or for nuclear weapons have been an utter failure. It hasn't been able to produce the kind of treaties that we need with a scope in the time that we need and with the scope that we need. Far, far from it. But luckily, there are examples in history of other treaty-making models, which is the one of the Intergovernmental Constituent Assembly, which was used, for example, in the US Constitutional Convention in 1787, and then copied and redeployed in Switzerland, in Germany, and India, more recently, last century. So therefore, we should use, it's very important that we use a treaty-making process which is based on such model, because that model can guarantee the avoidance of any one nation or few nations having a veto. It guarantees that there is a very high bandwidth treaty-making process, because you have a set start and end of time, typically 2 months, whereby you have all kinds of experts, diplomats, and scientists that meet and have very high bandwidth, negotiation, which are both public and, of course, on the confidential level. It has a set time and date, and then in the end, whatever is produced, it's not subject to a veto by anyone, but it's subject to approval by 2/3, for example. This is the rule that was used back for the 1787 US Constitutional Convention. So Therefore, we are now in front a situation whereby China and the US are pitched in a arms race, and there's no leadership currently on truly going forward to create a fair and safe global no, treaty, to create a global organization like this, while other states are standing powerless. They're powerless to do anything against this huge, unprecedented safety risk for their citizens. We're talking about risk of extinction of humanity, where there's a 10 to 20%, no, this 10 to 20% estimate that this is actually a risk that can play out in the next few years. They also, nearly all states, they can do nothing to prevent a concentration of power and wealth in very few organizations and people, taking away any economic competitiveness of their country and forcing them to use other nations' technology, as we've seen in the last few decades with the digital revolution. But it is going to be way more expansive. So therefore, we're calling on experts, NGOs to join us and increase our coalition, which grew from 6 and we're already today 35 only in 2.5 months, and only with volunteer work. We invite states, of course, to join. We believe that even a small number of globally diverse states can set a snowball rolling, because by being even small but representative of all parts of the world, they can actually have the kind of authority to bring this forward. As this constituent process is highly, it's open, to all nations to join on equal terms at any state. Eventually, we believe that NGOs, enlightened philanthropists, initial pioneering states can lead this process through events that we're organizing. A first event in April in Geneva. We can slowly build up until we arrive to a critical mass of states, which ideally will include China and the US, but possibly not at the beginning. And at some point, when a critical mass of states is agreed upon this plan or a similar plan, a date is set for Intergovernmental Constituent Assembly, rules are set, a mandate is set, and then we have from then on, we have a predictable time frame whereby these organizations will be created. And this method will produce, as we've seen in history, much stronger organization, much more democratically, and in a much more predictable and short time frame. So therefore, I hope that this small introduction has either convinced you or at least spurred your interest or curiosity. And so I invite you to go on our website and see more of our rationale. We have lots of very deep paperwork to make a case for this, and details on how we suggest that this plays out, and also what our strategy is to actually affect change and really reach the decision makers. So please do so, and I hope that you will join us. Thank you for your time.